"17 days have passed since protests began following the killing of Mahsa Amini in Iranian police facilities. How many Iranians have been killed? Hundreds. How many have been arrested or injured? Thousands. But let us get it right. This is not only about mandatory veiling or jihad. This is about basic freedom. This is about a regime founded on systematic repression and cruelty against its people. There should be specific demands to the Iranian government on the release of prisoners and accountability of perpetrators, no matter how long it takes.
The regime directly responsible for her killing, as well as for violent crackdown, murderous violent crackdown of massive protests that followed this crime, has been led for already a few years by President Raisi, person directly responsible for judicial killings, crime against humanity towards the end of 1980s.
Iranian society has come out onto the streets in support of the women. High Representative, they're still there, calling for their freedom against a repressive, dictatorial, theocratic regime. That's why they're calling for real change. They're calling for a democratic regime. And so, High Representative, we need to renew and update the sanctions. We need to extend the sanctions. And we have to recognize all the massacres carried out by the Iranian regime since 1988 right up until today. We need to be clearer in defining as a crime against humanity any arbitrary imprisonment, torture and killing to which women and girls and all the minorities in Iran are subjected.
We need to do our utmost to support the opposition and the protesters who fight against the brutal regime's repressions.
Dear Iranian sisters, I hope you win this, but you are already our heroes. From the bottom of my heart, I salute you.
Thank you, Chair. Dear Commissioner, ik heb oneindig veel respect voor de vrouwen en mannen in Iran.
I have a huge amount of respect for the men and women in Iran who are standing up and opposing a criminal regime. This requires a lot of courage. You don't really need much courage to stand up here and say you're against what's happening in Iran.
And that is why I call on our foreign ministry, as well as you, Mr. Borrell, to use all the tools within your power to make sure that those in jail return home as soon as possible. Mahsa Amini and all the other martyrs of the Iranian regime must not be forgotten.
In 2019, there were 1,500 dead in the month of December, and just 1 month later, we were holding out our hand to this regime of assassins who had stained the streets of Iran with blood. It seems that there are some very powerful interests at play here. The EU needs to end its agreements with this regime.
I want to be crystal clear. We wholeheartedly support the aspirations of the Iranian people who want to live in a free, stable, inclusive and democratic country. I call on the EU and the rest of the world to take action. We need an investigation and we need accountability. The abusers must be punished.
The people of Iran believe in the rule of law. They're fighting for democracy, and therefore our duty should be to assist and to help those thousands and speak out for those thousands of Iranians who have been assassinated by the regime.
These protests, which have been spread to all Iranian provinces, have been brutally repressed by the Iranian regime and so far led to 400 deaths and many injuries of people, including college and university students. In reality, the number of deaths could be much, much higher. I'm also very concerned about the fate of more than 20,000 of detainees where there is no guarantee that their fundamental rights are respected.
Colleagues, a regime that does not listen or respect to its own people, are they really a legitimate actor with whom we should negotiate? We are often talking about not negotiating agreements with countries that do not respect human rights, but the EU is negotiating with a dictatorial and fundamentalist state, that of the Ayatollahs. We should no longer do this with this regime.